Good morning, wherever you're watching us from. This is QTV. I am Ibrahim Abalde, and of course, welcome to This Morning, a program where we talk about the happenings and, of course, bring people with adequate knowledge to review some of the papers. And, of course, on today's program, I'm with my colleague, Ansumana Eso Nyasi. Welcome to the program, Eso. It's good to have you here. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, Balde. Good morning to you. Good morning to our viewers out there. Happy to be back on this platform.
How are you doing? I will not even hesitate to ask you this question. You are a senior journalist and busy on reporting, doing a whole lot of stories, gathering information, because this is incumbent upon you to give the public what they need to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's an everyday life thing for us. It's been going well. Of course, it's not easy, especially when you work for a newsroom, you know, as busy as ours. You know, you always have to be on top of things, and you hardly really have time for certain things. But overall, it's good. You know, I'm always excited to be at the office, to be out in the field. So, yeah, great feeling.
Good to know. And of course, today we're just going to do this basic, and we have Mr. Ade Drame with us. Ade, it's not a new face on this platform.
Not a new face at all. I've been a regular in the newspapers.
Yes.
And even on some days, I even have to pretend to be Mr. Mbo. But today, I'm being myself.
Yeah, exactly. This is the real Ade Drame, the man himself sitting on the platform to, you know, we are about to roll. We are about to go through the newspapers. Mr. Ade, just in brief, how did you spend your weekend? We want to know.
Well, I always say to colleagues and to everybody else, I don't really have a weekend. And so yesterday I spent it watching some football and watching some movies and watching some documentaries. I'm working on a documentary.
Okay.
So it's good to look at other people.
All right, interesting. And if you're just tuning in, this is QTV's This Morning. And of course, on today's program, we'll take you through the newspaper. We'll be doing the newspaper review. But before the newspaper review, we have the African proverb. And of course, we were supposed to have the Awol Sierra Leonean Gambian community in the on the platform, but it's unfortunate they engage on other activities. They will not be able to make it today on this platform. Nonetheless, the program will continue. We'll still try to bring you certain things on the program so that you be informed. And of course, we'll be having Fatou Balde and one of the CSOs, and discussions will be centered on TRRC wide paper and the way forward. It will be very interesting. Then on entertainment, we'll be having Buba Fati with us, Keng Man, who will be bringing us the entertainment news. So what we'll do, we'll go straight to the African proverb. So Nyasi, what did the African proverb read?
Yes, Balde. So our proverb this morning reads, examine what is said, not who is speaking. I repeat that. Examine what is said, not who is speaking. I think it speaks for itself.
Well, this is straightforward, I mean, proverb, when you look at it. Examine what is said, not who is speaking. And of course, sometimes great words, I mean, words of wisdom can come from a little child. And of course, most people make mistakes in not taking heed of advice from certain people. Yeah. And the proverb here reads, examine what is said, not who is speaking.
Yes.
Mr. Ade.
Yes, I think this one is one of those that we can actually take literally.
Yeah.
And actually, I have very, very good personal experience of this. Some years ago, I was defending a former staff member of mine, and I was against actually being sacked by the British government for whom he worked in America at the British Embassy in America. And the case had gone to all the way to employment tribunal.
Yeah.
And he couldn't afford a lawyer, so he asked me to represent him. And so in one
exactly, I think we'll come back to Mr. Ade. Yes, and it's very interesting as well. Examine what is said, not who is speaking.
Yeah, you know, I always have I struggle to interpret some of these proverbs. But in this one, I think, like Mr. Ade said, it's self-explanatory, really. It speaks for itself. And I think for me, it's more about listening to the message, respecting the message, appreciating the message, and not who the message is coming from. I may take, you or some other person, excuse me, to be maybe some foolish guy, or maybe, not relevant to whatever I am doing. But then that should never be reason for me not to listen to what you're saying and to take it with seriousness. So I think for me, it's an important one.
Mr. Ade, you want to comment?
Yeah, if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, as Eso says there.
Yes. Okay. All right, Mr. Ade. I think still they need to
maybe there's
put certain things in place for Mr. Ade. Come on, Eso. Why do you like why do you like pulling Fuller's legs all the time?
Yeah, you're all my children. Unfortunately, I mean, you're not as smart as we are.
Exactly. Well, viewers, be reminded, it's if you're just tuning in, it's QTV this morning, and of course, we've already dealt with the African proverb. We'll take a short break. After the break, then we'll go straight to what we call the newspaper review. We'll be back.
It's happy time. Get 50% off all calls to any network. Enjoy calls every day to any network from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Is it too good to be true? QCell. We innovate, others follow. Your favorite QCell service has gotten bigger. eFunkanta. Now you can loan bigger credit amounts to make life easier for you. Loan $75C and $100C and pay later. Yes, you heard me right. Get credit loan from $10C to $100C using eFunkanta by dialing *393#. Anytime you run out of credit, whether you want to buy Q Power, browse the internet, make urgent calls, or send SMS, eFunkanta is the service for you. Dial *393# and choose the loan amount of your choice with no hassle. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus, the pioneers of mobile loan service in the Gambia. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
With so many things to do in a single day, it's important to have a network you can trust. When there's family and friends to connect with and business calls to make, you need a network that is reliable and fast. Talk longer, browse faster, go farther, and roam wider. When your network is solid, the world is your oyster. QCell, your trusted network in the Gambia.
Money, the biggest mobile money service in the Gambia, has taken mobile banking to the next level. Now, you can link your Q Money wallet with your bank account. Yes, link your Ajib or EcoBank accounts with your Q Money wallet and get instant access to your cash anytime. No need to queue at the bank anymore. Transfer funds from your bank account to your wallet or your wallet to your bank account using Q Money Bank Link is the fastest, most secure, and convenient way to transfer funds between your wallet and bank account. For more information, call our customer care on 133. Q Money, Sunyu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for the fastest and easiest way to receive money transfers from abroad? Well, Q Money and RIA just made it happen. Now you can receive international money transfer from RIA directly into your Q Money account with no additional cost. Once you receive an SMS alert about your transfer, walk into any Q Money agent across the country to receive your payment for free, or use the money immediately to buy credit, Q Power, and other Q Money services. It's fast, safe, and convenient. For more info, call customer care on 133. Q Money, Sunyu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Begin your SUV life. S-Pass Motors, the new authorized dealer for Kia. Visit us today or call us on 3522-222, 353-2222.
It's happy time. Get 50% off all calls to any network. Enjoy calls every day to any network from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Is it too good to be true? QCell. We innovate, others follow. Your favorite QCell service has gotten bigger. eFunkanta. Now you can loan bigger credit amounts to make life easier for you. Loan $75 and $100 and pay later. Yes, you heard me right. Get credit loan from $10 to $100 using eFunkanta by dialing *393#. Anytime you run out of credit, whether you want to buy Q Power, browse the internet, make urgent calls, or send SMS. eFunkanta is the service for you. Dial *393# and choose the loan amount of your choice with no hassle. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus, the pioneers of mobile loan service in the Gambia. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
With so many things to do in a single day, it's important to have a network you can trust. When there's family and friends to connect with and business calls to make, you need a network that is reliable and fast. Talk longer, browse faster, go farther, and roam wider.
We apologize for that long break. It's not a short break anymore. It's a long break. And of course, we are sending love to our fans that are watching this program in Farafenni right now. We are sending a whole lot of bunches of love to you. Welcome back, and of course we go straight to what we call the newspaper review. And so what do we have on that paper? Is that the point?
Yes, this is the point, Balde. So the biggest headline, of course, on the Point newspaper this morning is government endorses prosecution of 70 perpetrators, including Jame. Imam Silla advises Gambians to be wary of Middle East agents. 3 horses burnt, compound set on fire as border villages clash. 45.3% of Gambia's population relies on contaminated water sources with presence of E. coli. Women rights activists call for equal representation in cabinet.
Equal rights and justice. All right, I mean, Mr. Ade, that's the voice.
Yes, I've got the voice. And before I delve into the voice, just to say to all those people who contacted me over the weekend saying, you're off. We were off due to technical reasons, and they've now been sorted out, and we're back. But it's good to know that actually people were concerned, and they do watch us. And so I have to say thank you for your patience, actually, before I go on. I've got the voice, and top Gambian students exposed to heritage sites as NCAC, UNESCO, NATCOM celebrate Africa World Heritage Day 2022. And in the middle, a defeated candidate in the last election says President Barrow cannot end corruption. That's Nene Frida Gomez saying that. That's her opinion. And then another one, CHE team rolls out CHE competition, orients teachers and school reps. Government reminds, GPU, I beg your pardon, reminds government to reform repressive media laws. We've been hearing this a lot, still hasn't happened yet. The British colonial period are still on our statute books. AIUWA holds orientation for freshmen as students of Columbia University extol AIUAW, WA, I beg your pardon, sharing Ndigal followers attempt forceful return to Kermot Ali, setting houses on fire. This one, quite
okay, all right, is that all?
I wanted to go inside because Red Hawks win to level points at top of the first division league, and I mentioned this in particular because there's been an allegation that QTV does not feature GFF matches. It's rubbish. Actually, we do quite a lot, and we'll delve into that. I don't think we can let this one lie.
Exactly. All right, and this is the Foroya government to release white paper on TRRC recommendations. Poultry, domestic poultry production at risk due to shortage of feed, and of course, Office of the IGP refute allegation on $100 million is fraud, and of course, NPP, PDOIS, UDP win in Saturday's local government by-election. New Transport Ministry visits ongoing works project across the country. Transport Ministry ready to combat frequent road traffic accident.
You know what I feel about that one. Anyway, so I don't know where you want us to start. We can
Well,
start with that one.
I think we need to do this. I mean, yesterday, watching Kacha Dula, I mean, Dr. Marina was here. I mean, looking at the kind of accidents we have in this country. I mean, the manner and the way accidents happen in this country is really alarming.
Mr. Ade has actually written tons of articles on that.
And Dr. Marina was quick to say every month we receive like 100 injuries.
That's right.
And this thing keeps drumming in my head. 100 injuries every month.
That's right. And we had the shocking
for a country of our size.
So are we all going to be injured at some point?
It's the danger, isn't it, if those statistics are extrapolated across the country. We had the shocking statistic recently where in a month 30 people were killed on our roads.
Yeah.
The previous highest had been 27 at the end of December 2021, in just the month of December. And then last month we heard that 30 people had died.
It shows there's an increase.
It's an increase, and again, this figure has been bandied about. I remember when I mentioned it 2 years ago, people were like, "Oh,
okay, Mr. Ade, I'll come back to you again. And Eso Nyasi, 30 people, Mr. Ade, according to what he said. And of course, Dr. Marina telling us 100 people every month are taking to the accidents and emergency of the hospital.
I've engaged Dr. Marina several times, and I remember interviewing him twice as well. But I can tell you, for a country of our size, I think these statistics really, quite shocking. I mean, I remember we did this piece some time ago, and we did report that we were ranked 4th in the world for a country of our size, really. And I mean, it is very, very serious. I think there has to be some deliberate policy on the side of government, on the side of enforcement as well. I mean, you walk into literally every home in this country, you're going to have either, a direct or indirect victim of road traffic accident. And that is quite serious. I think it's something that needs to be really looked at. We had the Transport Union president just last month talking about it. The Traffic Police Commissioner did talk about it as well, severally on our various platforms here on QTV. Yet we're seeing a rise, in the number of accidents we have in this country.
When you look at the manner, I mean, the way accidents happen in the Gambia, sometimes other accidents can be avoided.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think because of not taking responsibility, not being responsible on our traffic, leads to those accidents.
It actually contributes greatly to most of these accidents we have. Of course, we talk about the poor conditions of some of these vehicles. They talk about the poor road network sometimes, but I think it's more, of course, in as much as it is true, but I think it's more about having that attitudinal change and being responsible drivers and on our roads. I mean, it's just sad. You look at some of these pictures, or you witness some of these accidents. Overspeeding causes more than half of these accidents we have in this country.
You can remember like a month or so, I mean, one happened at Ayub Furniture, and Mr. Ade was a keen follower of, he followed that action.
Yes, it had happened just minutes before I got to work. It's just 2 doors away from where we are. And it was quite shocking to see that 2 people died in that particular accident. And a lot of the ones that you see here, it's a case of, you know, cars actually smashing head-on into each other. And you know, why is that happening? So you're right, it's about irresponsibility, it's about reckless behavior. Some people who seem to be very nice human beings, the minute they get behind the wheel of a car, they become monsters. And you see them driving, you see them overtaking, you see them speeding on the highway, overtaking 4 or 5 cars at a time. And you're thinking, why are you doing this? You know, the impatience that is there. The other day, just as I was crossing from Manjai to come to work, you know, on Kairaba Avenue, I stopped to allow 10 children, school children, to cross. The guy behind me started beeping. And so just to annoy him even more, I switched off my engine. What's your rush? It was 7 o'clock in the morning, the roads were empty. Wait for these children to pass. You started beeping really loudly. Why is there this impatience? And you get that a lot, and that's what's leading to a lot of...
You know, in 2013, I was hit by a taxi on the Bundung Highway. That was overspeeding while I was standing on the other side of the road with a friend of mine. So for me, I mean, you're quite right. I think it's about attitude. It's more of attitude for me. I mean, the irresponsible behavior that, you know, many drivers, you know, display on our roads is quite scary. And again, I think we also have to be, I mean, very deliberate when it comes to enforcing traffic laws in this country. It's going to help us a great deal in addressing.
Well, I think that's the point there, enforcing traffic laws in this country. A country where people don't take heed of the zebra crossings. I mean, people don't know even the reason why we have them.
For some of these drivers, I mean, those zebra crossings don't even exist.
There was a day I said to a driver, I mean, when I was crossing, he said to me, "Don't go." I said to him, "Driver, there is a line. Look at the white line. Stop, please. Allow me to cross." This is the reason. You don't even know the reason why they put that white line. It's for you to stop so that I can use the zebra crossing.
Yes. And to think somebody got upset when I said that the white lines at the zebra crossing was just a waste of paint. Because you see it happening. I mean, and outside schools where there are zebra crossings, unless there's a police presence there, the drivers don't stop. I've seen it myself several times, where unless the police are there to stop the traffic, to let the school children cross, they don't stop. And of course the laws are, as soon as somebody steps...
How can we stop for... we don't even stop for traffic lights. I mean, when the light is red, a driver will be crossing. I know our viewers will be like, let them talk about the government
the possible prosecution.
Endorse the prosecution of 70 perpetrators and of course including Jammeh. Mr. Ade.
It's a rumor because the government white paper has not yet come out, and so what we have is the newspapers always say from reliable sources. So somebody has obviously is kind of leaking that this is what's going to happen, and you know, people have, not only has it been carried on this newspaper, but it's gone viral on social media. You know, people are, you know, kind of excited that, you know, this might happen.
Yeah, I mean, last week I covered the national dialogue that was organized by the Ministry of Justice on the TRRC, the entire process, and its recommendations as well. And of course, I mean, as you may be aware, that the TRRC, after submitting its report, government also did make it public. And so, you know, they are required by law to come up with a white paper, which is to kind of state government's position on the TRRC recommendations and the way forward. So they invited stakeholders, including CSOs and victim-led CSOs as well, organizations, and activists, to discuss, including international partners, to also kind of get their input, which would help inform government's, you know, decisions going forward. So, yeah, the Attorney General did, you know, talk about how serious government is about implementing the recommendations, and of course to also how they're very much prepared to continue supporting victims. So yeah, I mean, he's right. Somebody, you know, from within, solely, must have been leaking some of this information. But we cannot ascertain, we cannot say that this is what is going to happen. We wait. The deadline is on the 25th. According to what I saw on this paper, the TRRC report states it unveils 427 findings, 218 recommendations with 393 testimonies on killings
unlawful detention, enforced disappearance, sexual and gender-based violence from 1994 to 2017.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite comprehensive. And I remember at the time when there were delays, people were saying, oh, why don't they just get it out? And I said, well, it's quite complex. And you rather they did it right than did it right now, was what I said at the time. So they need to balance, because you talk about reconciliation, you talk about reparations and so on. These things all need to be taken into account. It's a small country where virtually everybody knows everybody else. So it's a major it's a major task.
Well, I mean, let's see what will happen. So, I mean, as far as, I mean, according to what is said, it's a rumor. Yeah. I mean, it's not something that is certain yet. I mean, well, about the government releasing this.
Yeah, either ways, I mean, the white paper would come out on the 25th, at the very latest 25th. So, yes.
Mr. Ade, you are good to go now. Yes, you are good to go.
I mean, because really what you have here is that this is not a secret necessarily, because if you look at what the TRRC recommends, this is essentially what it recommends. Yeah. What we're now being told, what is now being leaked, is that in fact the government agrees with the majority of those, or the major recommendations that are in that TRRC report. We all watched it. Sometimes we were horrified by what we saw and heard. And it would have been amazing if there had been no sort of recommendations for prosecution. Of course, they were bound to be. And of course, the ex-president was very much front and center of those accusations. Yeah.
Well, at some point, I think Gambia, not all actually, but I mean, 75% of the people don't know the manner, the way, I mean, certain perpetrators should be bring to justice. I mean, should be brought to book. I mean, I think people tend to think it's just have to be a quick process. No. Yeah, I mean, it have to be a quick process. I mean, Jammeh did a whole lot of things. They should bring him, judge him, and do whatever they're going to do with him.
It's not easy because he was in power one way or another, either with the military or as a civilian president for 22 years. And so he still has his supporters, remarkably. But you find that in other places where, you know, somebody who's been in power for a long time, even if it's a dysfunctional government, it's the only government many people know. I remember meeting some youths who belonged to the APRC when I first moved here, and they were defending him. Come what may, they said everything being said at the TRRC was a bunch of lies. And so you'll have those people who will never believe anything against him because they never knew any other leader.
Okay, all right, then, Esho, what's on your paper again? What do you have there?
Yeah, 3 horses burnt, compound set on fire as border villages clash. I think we have similar headlines on
all
the other papers.
What about this kid, I think?
Yeah. You remember the guy who testified at the TRRC, the Sering Digal disciple. You remember, right?
Yes.
So it's the same village. So some of them who actually had to relocate to Senegal to be able to continue, you know, with their
practice and their beliefs.
I think from what I read, some of them are trying to come back, you know, but then they're being denied by you know, some of their neighbors. So I understand this is what is causing clashes there, but then I also do understand that the police are investigating. So yeah, hopefully by the time they're done with their investigations, we'll get a clear picture of what actually happened.
Yes, I mean, essentially...
But it sounds quite serious, right?
Yeah, they were being accused of virtually introducing a new religion.
A new religion.
Which I'm not sure there's a law against introducing a new religion into the Gambia. I think people resented it because it seemed to want to link itself somehow with Islam. And they were saying that that's a kind of innovation that was unacceptable. And so to escape prosecution and persecution, of course, they fled. And now they want to come back because they think that things might have quietened down, but it seems they haven't quite. And so this is what we're being told has caused this latest fracas. So another quite serious thing that kind of could destabilize the region and want to be watched, definitely.
Exactly. Office of the IGP refutes allegations on $100 million fraud. The Office of the Inspector General of Police has refuted the allegation claiming that the Inspector General of Police, Abdoulaye Sanyang, was involved in a 100 million fraud, further claiming that the IGP is planning to leave the Gambia.
Yeah, I mean, it's all supposition at the moment.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the facts that actually support the allegation.
Exactly.
And I think until that time, we don't want to be, involved in spreading rumors that are baseless. So, accusations are usually thrown around quite a lot. I hear people saying this person is corrupt, that person is corrupt, and I always say to them, and certainly Esso can support me on this. In our team, I always say to them, if somebody has the evidence, let them bring the evidence.
Yeah.
Don't just go on, oh, somebody told me. That's not evidence. And so my brother posted something on Facebook the other day. It says, your thoughts are not facts. They're not the same thing. Just because I think something doesn't make it a fact.
Yeah.
And just because I think somebody is corrupt, it doesn't mean that person is corrupt. Now, if I have the evidence to show they are corrupt, then let me bring that evidence, and then I can accuse them of corruption. We hear this all the time.
Yeah, I think this was shared by one Facebook site. They call it I take a bribe, I think. Yeah. So, but again, like I said, exactly what I thought when I came across it first. We treat them as just allegations.
Sometimes, don't you think it is wise enough for office like the office of the IGP or other government, high government offices, not just to turn a deaf ear when it comes to certain things? I mean, just something written on your Facebook page.
You mean when allegations are made, they should just
ignore
them?
If you know they are not true, at some point you don't need to throw stones on a tree without fruit.
Yes, it's a double-edged sword what you've just mentioned, because the perception is if you say nothing, it probably means it's because you're guilty or you've got something to hide. But if you come out and you refute them and you say to these people making that, show the evidence, that's what you should do every time. Somebody accuses me or you or SO, say, okay, come up with your evidence, let us see it. It's like, I was saying earlier about the football incident, the president of GFF claiming that he watches primetime TV and he doesn't see matches on QTV. Well, I'm not sure. He obviously probably doesn't mean QTV Gambia, because if he's been watching QTV Gambia, we show them all the time. During Ramadan, our colleague Esso went to matches at the stadium late at night, and we covered all of those. So I don't know what he was talking about.
When I read the message that QTV management sent, I was like, after all the struggles that QTV went through to cover certain matches, I can attest to that. Momodu Gajaga, sometimes he stayed till late in the office just to cover these matches.
Throughout the Ramadan,
yes.
throughout Ramadan, he would break his fast here and he would go to the stadium. He gets to his house around 2, 3 a.m. sometimes. He lives in Brikama, all right? And I found that, for me, I found it to be very unfair, honestly, to him, to us,
Definitely.
And the thing was stated with such authority, such an unfounded allegation.
That was quite
I thought
serious.
it was a disgrace, actually. I thought it was a disgrace. And he should apologize, because what he said has no basis in fact at all.
Yeah.
So, I was livid when I saw and heard what he said, because we can disprove it.
Just this season, during the Brikama derby, when Brikama United played against Fortune, he was sitting right behind us where we were seated. So I found that really very...
for me, I'm talking about evidence, okay?
Yeah.
I can point people to certain dates. It's on YouTube. You can find it there. We cannot manufacture that broadcast. They are there. The footage is there to prove the case. So,
Mr. Ade, what happened
shameful.
to look before you leap? I mean, it's very important for you
when
to...
people want to score cheap points, they will say things. And because they think, people will hear around. Anybody who does not know would have heard that, and they would have believed it. And that's why I'm angry about it, because it was in such a prominent place where he said it, and to an audience that maybe all of them don't watch QTV. But for that person to say, I watch QTV and I don't see them covering, I'm sorry, it's garbage, and I won't even mince my words about this.
Well, it's unfortunate, and we all know our viewers, if most of them are following, they all know QTV is doing their best to cover certain GFF games. I mean, we've been doing all our utmost best to make sure we are always there.
On the news and on Q Sports. Regularly.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ade, for coming on this platform. It's good to have you here. That's the end of our newspaper review segment, and we'll be very happy to have you again on this platform. What do you think? Should we invite you?
I will be thrilled to be back, and I hope we have no technical issues the next time I'm on. So sorry, you were going to say.
No, it's okay.
No, I just said, I mean, should we invite you? And he said, are you asking?
Right, yes,
All right, thank you very much.
Stop me.
Yes, we'll take a short break. After the break, then we'll go straight to what we call the social issues, and we have Fatou Balde here. Discussion will be centered on the TRRC white paper. We'll be back.
It's happy time. Get 50% off all calls to any network. Enjoy calls every day to any network from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Is it too good to be true? QCell. We innovate, others follow. Your favorite QCell service has gotten bigger. eFunkanta. Now you can loan bigger credit amounts to make life easier for you. Loan $75 and $100 and pay later. Yes, you heard me right. Get credit loan from $10 to $100 using eFunkanta by dialing *393#. Anytime you run out of credit, whether you want to buy Q Power, browse the internet, make urgent calls, or send SMS. eFunkanta is the service for you. Dial *393# and choose the loan amount of your choice with no hassle. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus, the pioneers of mobile loan service in the Gambia. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Begin your SUV life. S-Pass Motors, the new authorized dealer for Kia. Visit us today or call us on 3522-222, 353-2222. Q Money, the biggest mobile money service in the Gambia, has taken mobile banking to the next level. Now, you can link your Q Money wallet with your bank account. Yes, link your Ajib or EcoBank accounts with your Q Money wallet and get it.
Welcome back from that short break, and of course we'll go to what we call social issues. As I said before the break, we'll be having Fatou Balde with us, and we'll be discussing the white paper. I mean, it's making a whole lot of rounds right now. People are talking about it. The CSO's working group on transitional justice on Thursday held a press conference to update the public on its findings and present the civil society organization's white paper on the TRRC reports and recommendations to the Ministry of Justice. And of course, to help us delve into it more, we have Fatou Balde here. Fatou, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. I think this is the second, third, fourth, fifth time of having you here, or is it the second time?
The second.
The second time.
Yes.
All right. You're welcome on this program. Please, can you take us through your own white paper? I understand that. I mean, the TRRC, they have their own white paper. They have their own paper that is presented. But yes, their own report. But you also created your own. I mean, that these recommendations should be implemented. Take us through it, please.
Thank you. The CSO white paper on the TRRC report and recommendation came as a result of civil society, different civil society and victim-led organizations who've been working with victims and affected communities. We felt that the TRRC did their job and they've produced a report and made their recommendations. And while we're waiting for the government to publish a shadow white paper to tell us which of the recommendations of the TRRC they're going to implement, we thought it was important for us to speak to victims, civil society organizations and victim-led organizations, so we know what are they expecting from the government's white paper. We also wanted to use that opportunity to hear what victims want to see in this white paper, because the TRRC did their job and the government is going to take this report. So it was important to consider what victims wanted to see. So the CSO white paper then has information that we've collected from victims. We went around the whole country. We had a consultant who held individual interviews, focus group discussions, and desk reviews to talk to both victims so that we will incorporate what their needs are and their expectations.
Let's clarify this. I mean, the CSO white paper, I mean, contained all that victims like recommendations from the victims themselves.
Yes.
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 So, I mean, can you take us through, I mean, if this is to be implemented, how do you think the government should implement this?
Okay. So, these are recommendations that we have submitted to the government through the Ministry of Justice, recommending when they're looking at their white paper, when they're adopting some of the recommendations in that white paper, they use this document to consider what victims want. Because remember, the government hasn't had a consultation prior to this document with victims, although recently we had that. So this document actually is saying this is what victims want to see. This is what civil society is. And we also spoke to Gambians in general. This is what the Gambians expect. We talked about prosecution, we talked about amnesty, we talked about reparations and other forms of the different mechanisms that are included in the TRRC process. So we have suggestions. As civil society organizations, we play a crucial role in what happens in the transitional justice process. Just the fact that I don't think the attention would have been this much on the white paper had this report not come out. Yeah. A lot of the conversation around the TRRC, you will agree with me, has died since the hearing stopped. When we produced this report, it reignited the conversation. We started having conversations. We are coming on the media, we are on the radio, because for instance, one of the things we found out, even though the TRRC produced a report, most of the victims don't know what that report entails. And for them to know what to expect, they need to know what is in the report. So part of the consultations, when the consultant was collecting information for this report, we used that opportunity to share with the victims what the TRRC report found. So you can see we did a lot. We collected information, but we also gave back information to victims. And now we've passed that on to the government.
So can we say, I mean, your own report, it's more of a guide, I mean, to guide the government on the report. So I think you would like to come?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a contribution as well. So recently, I mean, you did talk about either the lack of or insufficient consultation between government and victims to some extent. Recently, I think it was last week, government through the Ministry of Justice did organize this national dialogue, and they invited CSOs like, you know, your organization and victims as well, including partners. How did you receive this, you know, as CSOs working with victims?
Okay, that was a very positive move, because one of the things that as civil society organizations, what we've been highlighting to both the TRRC during the process, but also to the Ministry of Justice, is the lack of information sharing between policymakers and citizens. So we struggle. So sometimes information is shared, and where do we see it? On social media. Maybe SO shares it on his page. But how many Gambians go on social media? How many victims have access to the internet or go and read that? So we need to find other forms of communicating with victims. So for instance, one example that it's when the junglers that were detained were released. That information, when it came out, it made a lot of victims anxious, because it wasn't explained to them. Yes, we understood why they were being released, because their rights were violated, because they were being detained for so long without, you know. So we understand that. But for a victim, who had that jungler testify saying that I murdered so and so and so, and all of a sudden you hear that they've been released and you don't know the information.
I think it was actually leaked on social media by
Yes, so
someone,
can you
then,
understand from the victims' perspectives when they see this? So this is why one of the things that we really emphasized in this report is the need for communication, meaningful communication, and that's why we really welcomed the Ministry of Justice when they organized that consultation, but also the fact that they really welcomed our report. When we went to deliver the report at the ministry, initially we were supposed to have a meeting with the Solicitor General, but the minister himself, the Honorable Minister, came and received the document, and for us we appreciate that, and we saw that as a positive move. Yeah.
Okay, and some of the recommendations on the white paper, I mean, it's the issue of amnesty. And of course, I can see transformation and recognition also it's mentioned on the document. Take us through this.
Okay. So one of the things really that ignited this whole conversation around amnesty is when we had that the TRRC had recommended amnesty for Sana Sabally. Again, we as a civil society organization actually came out and we did a press statement to show that that would be unacceptable, because first of all, Sana testified, and victims and many Gambians would tell you that when Sana testified, he showed no remorse. He didn't acknowledge the pain that he has put on victims. He didn't apologize. He made some horrible statements about someone's late husband, someone's father, someone's family member that they murdered. So we felt that, for instance, in that case, Sana Sabally, especially when he's committed crimes against humanity, shouldn't be giving amnesty. So some of the issues that we raised was to bring particularly that example, and also when they're considering amnesty, they need to look at what it means to grant someone amnesty. We talked about that, but the issues around, for instance, transformative justice and issues around reconciliation, I think that as a nation we've looked at the different aspects of the TRRC, but we need to do more efforts around reconciliation, because reconciliation is something that we've really, there's been a little bit of work done, but we need to do more work. And I think as a nation, we have not acknowledged how Jammeh's government has changed our social cohesion. I always give example of Sintet. Sintet used to be a community that was closely knitted, where the Jolas and the Fullers and the Mandinkas and everybody interacted and did everything together. But because of the violations that happened to that community, we've seen how that has affected social cohesion within the community of Sintet. And I know there are many other communities like that, and we need to work to rebuild those communities. And when we talk about transformation, transformative justice, the TRRC, for instance, highlighted that when they looked on sexual and gender-based violence, because sexual and gender-based violence affect women more, they found that victims didn't come forward. Just few victims came out because of the fear of stigma and backlash, which we show what happened for the few brave ones that came out. So the TRRC, one of the recommendations is to talk to communities, to change mindsets around the culture that re-victimize when females are sexually abused and they come out and speak. We need to engage that. But also, when we're looking at reparations, can we find ways that we give reparations that are transformative, not just monetary reparations. We look at other forms of reparations that will transform the lives of victims, especially female victims.
When you were putting this white paper together, I mean, how did you put all these victims together? I mean, I sit and wonder. I mean, we have a whole lot of victims. How did you put all their ideas on one paper? Did you call them, you know, and you gathered at a place and you write, or did you visit them to their houses?
Yes, we had a consultant that did the information, collected the information. She conducted one-to-one interviews with victims. She also conducted like a small group, focus group discussions where she would bring few victims together. In cases where she was dealing with issues that are sensitive, for instance, interviewing people who have experienced SGBV or people from the presidential alternative treatment treatment, the HIV, I call it the forced treatment. Those are sensitive cases. She would do it separately and provide them with a safe space where they feel comfortable to share that. Of course, we couldn't cover all victims, but we had a good representation to give us the information, to come to a conclusion and come up with these recommendations.
Yeah, so earlier you mentioned amnesty, you mentioned reconciliation. I haven't had the opportunity to go through the white paper, but I remember the Justice Minister saying there cannot be reconciliation in the absence of justice. So, I mean, we're reading in the papers this morning, not yet officially confirmed, that cabinet rather has approved, I mean, the prosecution of at least 70 perpetrators, including Jame himself. As CSOs in this area, I mean, how do you receive this news as well?
Okay, I had not had chance to look at the newspaper yet, so, but I absolutely...
That's it, there you have it.
Brilliant,
yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, that's music to our ears. But we also hope that it is not just something that is written, that it is something that is acted on. Because one thing that we know as a country is we're very good at saying things and writing things and nothing comes out of it. So whilst we welcome this, we do hope that this is actually implemented, because that's the other issue, and that's where civil society comes in. We would make sure that we work with government, but also we are going to be the watchdogs to make sure that some of these recommendations, if not all, we will put pressure to ensure that victims have justice.
Fatu, so in case, I mean, the government looked at your white paper and said, okay, now we don't want to abide by this. Okay, your recommendations are good, but we have our own way of doing our own thing. What will happen?
Then we will look at what they've come up with. For instance, we've recommended for prosecution, and you've just informed me that they've announced they will prosecute 70 people. That's in line with what our recommendations.
Yes, I mean, maybe you want certain people to be prosecuted, and those people are not prosecuted, maybe due to certain reasons. This is law. I mean, anything that is done according to law. You understand? Maybe your paper wants certain people to be prosecuted, and the government doesn't want to, or their time of prosecution is not due.
Well, talking about communication, one of the things that we want to emphasize is that victims need to understand, and this message need to be sent to, because expectations are high. Some victims thought that as soon as the TRRC ends, perpetrators will be taken to prison, justice will be gained. But these things take time. And we've seen in other countries where that has taken years before prosecutions occur. Although we want to change that narrative as Gambia, we want our transitional justice process to be different. However, if that doesn't happen, there are other means. We have the ECOWAS courts, we have the ICC. There are other actions that civil society can take, victims' families can take, but also the international community. You know, this is beyond Gambia. The crimes that were committed in the Gambia are crimes against humanity, most of them. If the Gambian government doesn't take action on certain crimes, I am sure the international community will do so, and we will support for the prosecution of these perpetrators.
I'm talking about support for the prosecution of these perpetrators. The TRRC did a great job for 2 years or even more. CSOs as well, like your organization. You also came up with a white paper. Government by law is mandated to come up with one, and we're looking forward to that. But as CSOs as well, how are you looking forward to the government white paper?
We are anxious but also excited. We think that this is an opportunity for us. What the Truth Commission has given us is an opportunity for us to look back as to what happened. If the TRRC didn't happen, we've all been here, we've all had, when we used to say ne lidu Gambian ñoko nekk di def li yep ay nit ñu joggé Liberia la nit ñu joggé, we denied it. We didn't acknowledge it, and Gambians are very good at that. But the TRRC showed us that in fact it was our own brothers who committed these crimes. In fact, in some cases, it was the same people who would go and murder someone's husband and go back to the woman and empathize and cry with them. We saw that. So the TRRC provided us an opportunity to see what happened. And now that if the white paper comes out, this is an opportunity for us to undo the wrongs so that they don't happen again.
Yeah.
For us, we must set the standards. If we are really serious about never again, we have to make sure that these recommendations are implemented.
Take us through, I mean, that process of gaining amnesty. I mean, if a person is to be qualified for amnesty, according to your own white paper, what should be done? I mean, what should that person, how should the person, what should qualify the person in brief?
Okay, I am not a legal person, so I don't want to quote anything, but from my own perspective, what I could say, there are certain crimes. We look at the TRRC Act, which has said what crimes can be, what perpetrators can get amnesty and who cannot. We also have the international laws that specify who can qualify for amnesty or not, and that's what we need to look at. Our white paper didn't give those explicit details, but what we put out is what do victims expect. In order, for instance, to give amnesty, the person, even it doesn't matter what crime they've committed, they must show remorse. And if they haven't shown remorse, for instance, Sana Sabali, then they shouldn't qualify for amnesty, even if it wasn't a crime against humanity.
What about if the person is bold to come and speak the truth, nothing but the truth? Yes.
But still, it depends on what crime they've committed. Yeah. I feel, again, I'm going to go back on Sana Sabali. I think I always say this. We saw how Sana Sabali understands our system. He understands the Gambian context. He manipulated the whole system when he came to testify. Yes, while I appreciate that he experienced violations, Sana played a game. He came, and at the end of his testimony, I am not convinced Sana told the whole truth. But the fact that Sana is a man who experienced sexual violence, the whole nation wept for him. And because of that empathy that Gambians have shown, because he is a man and he experienced sexual violence, people empathized, people sympathized with him. Meanwhile, the women that came and testified as victims of sexual violence, what happened to them? They were attacked, they were told they were lying. These were the victims. Sana was a perpetrator as well as a victim. These were innocent girls and women who were abused sexually, raped, tortured. But because they are women, they didn't receive even quarter of what Sana received as a perpetrator, a confessed murderer. That also says a lot about our society's attitude and perception about sexual violence, especially when it happens to women.
Thank you very much, Fatu, for coming on this program. I think it's a very fruitful discussion, and we will see what will happen. Let's wait for the government. I mean, on the 25th, they'll be releasing their own paper.
Well, we hope that it will come out before the 20th.
Yes,
that is the deadline.
Let us wait and see, and let's hope for the best. I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, thank you for coming. And viewers, we'll take a short break. After the break, then we'll go straight to what we call Click segment. And Buba Fati will be here, and his guest is already in the studio. We'll be back.
It's happy time. Get 50% off all calls to any network. Enjoy calls every day to any network from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Is it too good to be true? QCell. We innovate, others follow. Your favorite QCell service has gotten bigger. eFunkanta. Now you can loan bigger credit amounts to make life easier for you. Loan $75 and $100 and pay later. Yes, you heard me right. Get credit loan from $10 to $100 using eFunkanta by dialing *393#. Anytime you run out of credit, whether you want to buy Q Power, browse the internet, make urgent calls,
Welcome back from that break. Well, we apologize that there will be no segment today for Click. Yes, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, we'll be doing Click maybe tomorrow, not today as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, but overall, I think we had we had a great show. Nice discussion there with Ade, quite interesting, and of course, Fado Balde as well. I think I have to say that they're doing a great job. The CSOs in this country, especially those that are, you know, working on, you know, within the TJ process. I think they're doing a great job.
We wish them well, and so I am pretty sure. I mean, the government knows what's happening in this country. The government have seen what transpired, and the government, they are in the best position to address certain things. And I am hopeful they are with the people of this country, because at the end of the time, the people rely on the government. So we are hoping by the time their report is out, I mean, we should find something very important.
Yeah, actually, now it is up to government now. I think the TRRC have done their bit. First, the National Assembly who came up with the act, the TRRC, CSO, so it's now up to government.
But it's good that we have CSOs also doing such a thing. I mean, it's another plus. I mean, it's an addition. It will help at least try to, they will boost the system so that it can be able to be put in place. You
know, we always say one of our roles as media people is to serve as watchdogs to government. But I have to say that I think the CSOs are also doing a great job in that as well, in keeping, you know, government to check in, ensuring that things are done the right way, helping with advocacy, but also supporting even with development projects as well. So we cannot but appreciate the job, I mean, the great job that CSOs are doing in this country. But of course, the Gambian people as well who continue to support their work. So yeah, we look forward to the government white paper. I'm sure it's going to be another interesting time again. Of course, we're all looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, Ansumana Iso Nyasi. I mean, it's good to have you here always. And viewers, this is all we have on this edition of This Morning. Join us tomorrow for another morning program. Bye for now.